Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the F5 Recovery Podcast. My name is One Pretty Rick, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Adam Martin and Kirsten Hubinen, and we're just super excited that we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful show. We have a very special guest that's coming up a little later. But before we do that, we want to, of course, thank all sorts of our amazing sponsors. So we would not be able to do this podcast without the F5 Project and, of course, the Ridge Treatment and Reentry Center, and some of our new sponsors, GoAwayBear.com, Heat Transfer Warehouse, and Shirts from Fargo. We are super, super grateful that some of these amazing organizations have decided to support us, and we hope that if you want to continue supporting our show, that you hit subscribe, that you like, and follow us on Facebook and all of our social media, and we'd love to be able to do more for you.
How are you, Christy? How are things?
I'm good, thank you. I'm doing really good.
I've been following you on social media for a while, and is that so weird?
Yes.
Oh.
No, I've been following you too. I love all the expansion.
I mean, you're out at night.
Yeah. Well, it sounds weird when you say it like that. But anyway, super big fan. She had me on her podcast a while back, which was super fun. There was another young lady that was on that podcast.
Allison. Yeah, but now we both live in two different parts of the country, and she has no internet that well. So now we're trying to figure out how to do the podcast again. But yeah, you were a great guest.
Yeah, that was fun. I didn't know, because we didn't really know each other prior. I mean, I knew of Christy, but I didn't. And then when I was like, man, I'm a good there. We are cut from the same cloth. Like it was fun. So I was really
super fun
getting you back on here. So
thank you.
Yeah. So Christy, so what we always like to do to start off, we would like our guests to just kind of share a little bit more about themselves, kind of just your connection to the recovery community, and then we'll kind of just tackle some questions before you have to run. So we'll let you share whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, my name's Christy Lashover, and I've kind of been in the addiction world for the majority of my life. When I was born, I had a bunch of medical issues, of what they used to call birth defects. And so I was in the hospital a lot as a child. It was kind of like my second home, and I learned how to manage emotions and uncomfortable feelings with Demerol and morphine and Dilaudid and all the opioids. And so that was just part of my world. I didn't know different. It was just, you have an uncomfortable feeling and there's a bottle of Vicodin or Percocet there. So that was just how I did life. And when I would spend 3 weeks in the hospital or 3 months in the hospital, that was what I was given every day. So, when I got sober, the first time I got sober was in 1998. And that was because I was married to a police officer who his sergeant pulled me over. And I felt so bad. I felt so embarrassed for him and bad. So I'm like, okay, and a lot of times I knew I didn't even need the medication. Even when I was in the hospital, I was like, hey, Christy, I'll get you a pain shot. And I'm thinking, I don't even need it, but a little relief, cool, I'll take it, And so when I got pulled over, I decided to go to rehab and just see what it would be like. And I remember thinking, wow, this is so different. And it's like, I remember hearing birds chirping, and like the world was just so different without that blanket of addiction over you. And so I jumped into a 12-step program, and it was great. I had never it was the first time I ever experienced anything like that. And then, I sponsored people, I got sponsored, all of that. And then different chain of events happened that I didn't share. Father dying, adoption falling through, husband that had an affair, getting a divorce. And I went in the hospital for a kidney issue. And the nurse goes, I'll go get you a shot, and I knew right then, like it was at crossroads, like, I don't need it. I'm not in pain, but really I felt like I deserved some relief. I felt like I need a little relief. And so I said, okay, thank you. And she comes back, and I was already feeling all the feelings. I was it makes me emotional now, because I remember I just tears ran down my face, here I go. But, I didn't really have any other tool. I didn't use the tools that I had to share my pain. because I thought I needed to be strong. I don't need to share all this shit on everybody else. And I can manage this. And at the time I was seeing someone who relapsed on meth. And he called me, hey, Christy, can you help me? I'm in Palm Springs. I can't get out. I said, yep, I'll come get you, with the bottle of Vicodin I had in my hand, got him, took him to safety. And then I went back and I said, let me try this. Because I thought in my head, if I take this and meth, because I will never get addicted to that, that will stop this insanity of this opioid addiction. And it did. That stopped that. But then I started in that. And then so when he found out that I did that, he was so angry and like, it's not crying, like, Christy, you don't understand what you just did. And I thought he was being so dramatic. And I'm like, I'm 40 something years old. I'm not going to get addicted to meth. I'm a wardrobe stylist. I have my own business. Like, I'm not going to do that. And I was thinking, you don't understand what I just kind of cut off. That was most important to me. And so we started this, buying a little bit, selling, buying a little bit more, getting that offer, selling it. And then someone offered me said, hey, there's this guy in Connecticut and he wants more and you could buy more and you can get more. And I stopped doing my business, which created shame and guilt and all the things that it does. And then I was in this full blown drug addiction and dealer. And I mean, I came from a loving family in Orange County, California, went to Disneyland, church, beach. And so I was, that's who I became. And so unbeknownst to me in the beginning, the person that was in Connecticut was a Catholic priest and he was selling, and he got caught and I got caught, and then I went to federal prison for 5 years. So there you go. That's just pretty much it in a nutshell.
Often with a priest, yeah.
It's always something.
Yeah.
One of those guys.
So,
That's a lantern I didn't see coming, that's for sure.
Every time I see a priest, I'm like, something's up.
I know. So did you get into recovery in prison then, or?
Is federal prison, they really didn't have it. Well, the only thing they had in there was RDAP, which is like the residential drug treatment. In theory, I thought that would be a really good program. But it was more abusive in my experience and the one that I was at. And so there was 32 women originally that started, and there was only 2 of us at the end that, I wasn't going to quit. I said, I'm not quitting because I want that year off, and trying to work on myself. But what I realized is it's hard to do the inner work when you're in survival mode in a prison. So I didn't realize that I was still trying to discover things and write on my journal. And but they ended up kicking me out a few weeks before I was supposed to go home, and said I was inauthentic and there was no clinical progress, is what they said. So really my deep work I did my deep work after I got kicked out, and I felt like I really was like, something must be wrong with me because I think I'm this kind of person. Right. And I keep getting this message from these people that I'm this other kind of person. In fact, when she kicked me out, she said, knowing that my hardest, most, hard thing that I've experienced was that I couldn't have children. And she said, thank God you couldn't have children, Christy, you would have been a terrible mother. She said, I bet you're a terrible daughter and a terrible sister. And this is the lady in charge of all of RDAP in that facility. Her husband was in charge of the whole region. So I tried to appeal it, and I realized it was her husband. And so it was devastating. I had a landscape boss who gave me a tiny bit of hope, because I felt like I said that there must be something wrong with me. Maybe I shouldn't be on this planet. Like, no woman would ever say that to another woman unless you're a terrible person or something. I would never say that to anybody anyway. And he said, Christy, I don't think they met anyone like you in here before. He said, just do the year, work hard, work on yourself, and get the hell out. And just those little words gave me hope. So that's what I did. So I worked on myself. I was praying a lot. I was working in the flowers, like, okay, God really want me here for another year? Like, what the heck? And I just delved into writing. I wrote a lot to be like, who are you? I wrote, and I still write every day. It's been 7 years since I've been out. I just wrote and wrote and wrote to discover who I was, relocated to Oregon, and, no distractions there, just ran and river raft and hiking and learning who Christy was as an adult at 52. And so that's what I've been doing ever since, which is great.
Awesome.
So when you were confronted in RDAP, like, how do I ask this? Most people who encounter that are addicts or alcoholics, or it could just be justice impacted. Like, you don't even have to be those. When they encounter that adversarial intent from other people, and they care so much about what other people's opinions are, I see more people destroy their lives in that moment than any other moment in their life. It's when other people's opinions dictate like what so how did you, like, I heard you say that somebody spoke life into you, right? But there's got to be, like, how did you accept those words as law for you than what that woman said to you?
It took a minute because I was so angry, and it still makes me emotional. It's been how many years, but I also had this strong feeling that I was, a person of worth, that I had a loving family and support. And I knew in my soul, like, this is not me. Like, this is not me. So I just tried to glom onto anybody. And like I said, it was my landscape boss, who was very handsome and never spoke, because I think the girls would be all over him. I mean, that was the longest, that was one sentence. That was the most words he had said to me the whole time I was there, all linked together in one sentence. So it held impact for me. Because he really didn't speak a lot. So that, and like I said, I was in the landscaping and the flowers, and I spent time with me, just me, trying to figure out and trying to determine who I was. And I feel like, for me, it was a spiritual connection that I allowed inside me, that permeated my body, that said, because like I said, I'd be like, God, really, another year. Like, I didn't understand why I would have to do that. And I just kept getting the message. This is what pray without ceasing means, Christy. You can talk anytime. And so that's how I live my life now. So I think it was just a little bit of spark. And the more frustrating thing was there's a lot of women in there that had a much tougher upbringing than I did. And they destroyed them. Like, I was so angry at that part too. Like, I would not be surprised if several of them aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
That's how brutal.
So, Christy, was that to kind of bring us a little current to what you're doing now? Was that something that was kind of the motivation that you needed to be able, like, hey, you know what? I don't want to feel how I felt because of that treatment. How do I make sure that this doesn't happen to other people? Is that kind of what inspired what you're doing now?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I love that you work with women. I worked with women for a long time. They're my absolute favorite. I think it takes a special knack to be able to have a healthy, cohesive women's program or anything like that. So kudos to you, because there's not enough women's facilities. There's not even research done on women. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think the fact that I was determined to go inward so deep and for a while, and still do, that I've created this solidness, like, with me and God inside me. So, like, I feel like I don't need really anything from anybody anymore. And so I get to just love people. And so what a gift that is. I don't need, it's great to have support. I have a lot of support and a lot of great friends, but I give a lot to them. So this is great interchange. And so, and I know women, when I was in, a lot of women would write me about things that they had done and things that they have kept secret. And I thought, wow, I remember the first time thinking, I thought I was the only one, and you guys were all around me and no one talked about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to talk about it first, to say, okay, well, everyone already knows for the most part. You can look it up. Let me go first. Let me tell you, a story that I had experienced or something that I've done or I felt. And then in the book, I'm like, now let me ask you about yours. And most women are afraid. They say, oh, no, I'm not writing, or, oh, no, I don't want to look inside. And we don't realize that we're with us every time. And so the things that, like all the stuff that I used to hide, it was coming out sideways.
Yeah.
Like that led me to commit a crime instead of looking at all that I'm about, my dark sides and light sides, and have them come out and play together and say, this is who I am. I don't love everything about me, but there's parts that I used to hate. Now I think are kind of hilarious because it's just,
Yeah, that's a gift. So thank you for doing that for sure. Yeah.
So walk us through the last 7 years. You've been out for 7 years. I know you've written a book, you write every day. But outside of that, I don't think we've really talked much about what you're doing now.
Well, when I got out, I relocated to Oregon. I grew up in Southern California my whole life, but the person I went to prison with got out before me because he graduated RDAP. And so it actually was a blessing because he had relapsed. And so I thought, oh, I can't go there. I'm going to go to Oregon where my mom and my sister were. Even though I was angry, I wanted to go home. I didn't want to go to Oregon where there's no shopping, no nothing, just mountains. I was pissed when I was in the airport going, man, I had to walk by Palm Springs, LA, Orange County, and go to Medford, Oregon. I was like, this sucks. But actually it was great. So I learned a lot about myself. It was the first time I was in a house by myself as an adult, not with a husband or family. And I remember one time saying, okay, Christy, like, so what do you want to do? Like, I'm talking to myself. I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like some tea. And I was like, oh, you're a tea drinker. Okay. So I had to learn about who I was. And that was, it is funny, but I think we go back to like, oh, do you want to be a wardrobe stylist still? I don't really want to do that anymore. Okay. So it's really just evolving. Like, what do you like? Who are you? And being okay with that. So because I was by myself, I think that was a gift for me to walk through that without any influence. So I was there for 5 years. I got a job at a hotel at the front desk. I said to him, he didn't ask about my background. It was the Best Western, which is privately owned. And so he hired me, and then he had a little house on the property, and they said, do you want to stay here? And I thought, okay, because I was at my mom's, and I said, I know I had to tell him, I said, well, I just want you to know. And I didn't know how much I should divulge. I've been in prison, and so someone gave me the advice to just say very simple, just say, hey, I just want you to know I have a probation officer in my life. I want to be transparent. If you have any questions, let me know. And he said, well, I guess we won't be going out for beers. I said, no, we won't be going out for beers. And that's it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Even though you have a stomach ache and you feel like you want to throw up because you have to give that shame. So I was in a reentry court that the halfway house suggested I go into. They said I get another year off. And so I was like, not really believing them because that happened to me before. But I met the most amazing judge who is my mentor, who calls me her dear friend. I love her. Her name's Judge Ann Aiken. She did this reentry court in Oregon. And so, it's a table around that you have the judge, police officers, counselors, other judges, community members. And then those of us that got out of federal prison, she's like, okay, what do you need? How was your month? And she let people talk for like ever, on and on and on and on. And she'd say, okay, what do you need from me? I need help with this. She'd say, okay, hold on. She'd get out her phone. She would handle everything right then.
Yeah.
Anything that they needed. And so for me, she's like, why aren't you in school? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of too old. I'm not really sure what I want to do. I know I could do a lot of different things. She said, okay, by next month, make sure you're in school. And I was like, okay. And I remember being afraid to even open the door at the community college. And I've been to college before, but it was that shame and where I've been and all of that. And I remember saying, Christy, you lived in maximum security prison in Carswell, Texas. You can open the door to the community college. There was nobody really helping me with that. So I kind of did that on my own. However, I feel like beautiful people were placed in my path. I went in there, the girl, I'll never forget her. I told her where I was, and I felt so sick to my stomach. And her response led me to a beautiful path. She's like, "Oh my God, this is so great. You were, oh my God, I can't wait." And I expected her to judge, and she was the opposite. And so it just kept going from there. And I graduated from Southern Oregon University, summa cum laude, and I worked on Ban the Box. There was Noel Vest I think you probably know Noel, Adam. He sent me a tweet when that was one of my assignments in school. I was like, I can't get on Twitter. I don't even know what that is or how it works. So he goes, you have to do 3 tweets and 3 retweets. I was like, oh man, I don't have time for that. But that opened the door for Noel, who didn't know me, and he just sent me a private message and said, "Hey, Christy, I'm Noel, and I've been incarcerated, and I see you have, and you're a scholar, and I passed a law and Ban the Box. It's cool as someone who's been incarcerated to pass a law. Do you want to try it?" And I was like, yes. I have no idea what that means. I probably skipped a government class in high school, but I learned to ask for help and ask people for things, which created this real big community. So each time I needed something, I asked for help. As an adult, I think I was more mature than younger, kids would do that. And so I created this network, and we worked on it for 2 years, and I passed the law in Oregon, and the governor signed it. And I went to NCHEP, which is National Conference of Higher Education and Prison. I was blown away that there was anybody on the outside that really thought or cared about anybody on the inside. I mean, literally blown away. And that was the start of me kind of being in that space. And then I moved to Louisiana, which I'm here now to work at Operation Restoration. And I go into the women's prisons and help them get whatever they need when they get out. And I do policy work and work on Ban the Box. And I'm involved in Unlock Higher Ed and STEM Ops and AGFO, which is Association for Justice Impacted Females and Organizations, which is great. I'm on the board for that. And I wrote a book, and I'm speaking. I just went on TV, my first TV show the other day. So it's cool.
Man.
A big change. I've been working hard.
Yeah, you're busting your ass. Yeah. Every time I just watch it on social media, and I'm just like secretly just in the back, just super fanboy appreciative. It's just so nice to like see. I think you probably feel the same way when you meet people in other states and you're like, man, I'm not the only one. Like you feel like a lot of times you're probably just annoying people, like let's reform, let's ban the box, let's do criminal record seals. And then, the people that you hear from the most are the ones who are against it, and so you don't always necessarily get to see people who are like you that are trying to do the same thing. So I get a little teary-eyed whenever we interview people who are doing that work. So I really appreciate you doing that work and stepping out.
Thank you. And when I see you guys, I'm so like, I don't even, I mean, I know Adam a little bit, but it's like, I literally feel like it's my brother, like, look at you go, like, kick ass. Like, I get because it's like, okay, someone else is doing the work, like you said, and succeeding and helping others. So I love that.
Yeah, it's a great journey. So tell us a little bit more. So the book itself is it autobiography, or is it like what? Tell us a little bit more about the book specifically.
Well, I originally wrote a full book, an 80,000 word book, but I wanted to get it traditionally published, but they said I needed like 1 million followers and tons of emails and all that, which I didn't have yet. So I wrote this other book. I had a guest on named David Gether, who's a great guy who wrote Weekday Remedies when I was doing the podcast. And he suggested to me, hey, Christy, why don't you take excerpts from your book and write like interactive book? And so that resonated so strong with me. So I wrote a book that was, so there are 33 short chapters of like me excavating and kind of looking into my life at different times, throughout my life in the last 50, I guess that's almost 7 years. And then at the end of every chapter, I asked the reader questions about their own life with room to write. So I love when someone sends me a picture of the book with it just thrashed, like all just a mess, because I want them to write, because that's what healed me. And the great thing is, if I'm going through something, and I feel a little off balance, I just grab a piece of paper. It doesn't need to be anything. And I write, okay, God, okay, Christy, you know what to do. Take your power back, like pour truth into myself. And what a gift that I know I have the ability to do that. So that's what I want for them. And then so that's what the book's about. Really trying to get people to understand when they look in the mirror, they should see their best friend that they love, that they think is silly and maybe wish some things were different, but no, they're not, and embrace all of it.
So you have write this interactive book where people purchase it and then they fill out the bottom portion, then they send it back to you?
No, it's just theirs.
Oh, it's there. Okay.
Yeah, it's theirs. No, what they
a pen pal kind of
no, it's like this. So here's the book.
Yeah.
And then so there's it's called Perfectly Flawed. Okay. And then there's at the end of the chapter, there's questions.
Okay.
And then in the back, they can write. So this is for them. It's just really encouraging people to put pen to paper. Don't be afraid to look inside of who you are, because that's it. That's who it is anyway. So really, the more you connect to it, the less you'll judge other people. And if you really connect to everything you are, then you will see yourself in almost everybody in the planet. Yeah. So then it's like you expect people to be certain ways because you know how you are. And those that are the most judgmental are the ones that have not done any of that work.
True. Yeah.
So, Christy, I know you only have a few more minutes with us and you got to run and continue saving the world. But I just want to kind of just thank you, of course, for coming on the show, and just wanted to give you space. If there's anything else that you want to just share or encourage, or just anything that you want to be able to give our listeners, just want to give you space to be able to do that before you have to run.
Thank you. Yeah, I always say that we have this one big, beautiful life. And we know in the depths of our soul sometimes when we're not doing what we need to be doing, or what we were called to do, or what feels comfortable with us. And it's not selfish to, like I said, do the inner work to figure out, or to give yourself really lots of grace, a wide berth of grace for the things you've done and things you've said. And if you do the work, you'll see why certain things. When I looked back at some of my high school years, I thought it was cool to be with, the teachers that brought us to the beach and gave us alcohol and stuff, but no, they were predators. So it's writing stuff out helps you really realize the truth of things. And then you get to be peaceful, and you get to be happy, and you get to be joyful, and know that you have the ability to, you have all the power and all the freedom at your fingertips every second. And don't be afraid of your power. Don't be afraid of your worth.
Ooh, I like that. That's great. Well, Christy, thank you so much again for just joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're just always really grateful for the work you do. And of course, just want to plug your book, Perfectly Flawed. So where can people find it? If people want to get it, read it, all that.
Yeah. It's on Amazon, Perfectly Flawed by Christy Lashober, or you can go to my website, ChristyLashober.com. And I love to speak to universities. I love to speak to the kids and the students. That's my favorite, or churches or anything like that. So if you're interested in that, you can just go to my website.
That's great. And specifically, thanks for helping women. I just think that's where my soul is. So I think we have a lot of fun together, Christy.
I think we would have a lot of fun together.
I think there's going to be a lot of trouble.
I think you should get out of the snow and come to New Orleans and go to a little festival. My favorite,
yeah.
Well, when you make the question like that, or there's a lot of other good things here.
I come in the summer too.
The frozen tundra. Do you hate your life?
Yeah, thanks again. It was really great.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was great. Yeah, she's amazing. That's a big, I couldn't imagine doing all of RDAP and then not graduate. I would lose my shit.
Oh my lord.
Well, she said, what, 2 weeks?
Are you familiar with it? Like, it is like.
But just the idea of knowing that you're almost done, and then to have some cuntcake come along and say you can't, you're done.
Yeah, good thing we're on podcast.
Sorry, touch my kids, I guess.
Yeah.
I was just kidding.
You know that part on the podcast distribution is like, is this safe for kids? Sometimes when Kirsten talks, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is to.
Kids to hear all the words.
I'm just glad it's her that are saying these things, because I would be canceled.
Yeah, you could myself. Most of the things she said.
I think the second somebody says you're canceled, whatever that is, I'm too old, but is like the second you get really big, because then people are like, well, why?
Yeah,
And then they
all
go,
of a sudden
oh, I do agree with that. Yeah. So that's a gift to get canceled.
I mean, I would rather be because of something I said, not because of something I did.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those guys deserved it. Like when they do just horrible stuff, like getting like, yeah. But because you had a difference of opinion, that's.
Yeah. So I could change my mind tomorrow and have another opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you that
Opinions
much.
change every day, just like underwear.
Well, whatever.
Write that down.
You have boys, right? You have boys.
You said that made it sound like you don't change your opinion. Not that your boys don't.
Oh, no.
You change everything.
We don't speak that one.
They're boys. When I was a young boy, it was a hit or miss if I even showered. So it was, I mean, even as an adult, you don't always know. I get busy.
Yeah.
I get myself on the bottom. Shower.
Yeah.
I can't shower today because I have to defend myself.
Yeah.
I might have said something better.
I shower today. Well, I'll tell you the thing I got the most out of her talk was that the overcoming of other people's opinions, because I can't like I said in the earlier or whatever. I just got people just get so obsessed with what I mean. It could be something as simple as a teacher's opinion of your kid to someone sharing how they are satisfied with something of your work or whatever.
Yeah.
And people will just derail themselves based off that one person. It's kind of like if there was 100 people that did a survey and 99 of them said, you did amazing. And then that one's like, you suck.
That one's in your head.
It's in my head.
I know.
That one, I would think I would even do better if there was 10. You know what I mean? Like if there was 10 people, but the opinion of one person is, I mean, it could be your mother, it could be some random stranger who has an anonymous account on comments on Valley News Live, Facebook page, like it could be anything. It was just like, it's just so weird how like you can go from just being on top of the day to completely obsessed with yourself.
Yeah.
And your value and your worth because someone has a shitty attitude.
Yeah. And really it's about, when I was in my 20s, I read the 4 agreements. I continue to read it every year. It's just like to not take anything personal, to not, like nothing anybody does is directed at me. It's all them just spewing shit out, and I always, since I had kids, you try and teach kids like, listen, words have power. And so if you have a well-placed swear word or whatever, I'm not going to be upset about that. That's, that can be funny actually, but know your audience. And, but if you call someone dumb or fat or something like that, then I will fuck up your day. You know what I mean? Like that is a absolute no in my house. You know what I mean? Like we just have one rule, don't be a dick. And it just encompasses everything, But words have power, they're huge. And sometimes when someone, like when that woman said, you're not making any progress, blah, blah, blah. That was a gift. that was a gift that that woman gave her because it sparked this whole next part of life. You know what I mean?
That's the silver lining of it. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
It is a gift. It's really hard to feel it that way.
Yeah, it is.
You know, today, like when people like say it's impossible for Adam to do, or Adam's out of his element, or he's not experiencing whatever, it's like, say less.
Right.
I get like, I love when people say that it can't do something.
Yeah.
Because today it's fuel. It still fucks with you.
Yeah, it does.
You know, but for the most part, it kind of fuels me. It also depends on who it is.
True.
If it's someone, you know, have you guys ever seen that video with Elon Musk when he's trying to go into space?
Oh,
And then his heroes of like Neil Armstrong, like all those people that were his heroes, were basically came back and said, Elon Musk has no business trying to do this.
Yeah.
And they were his heroes.
Oh,
And I'm watching this video, he starts tearing up.
oh, that's terrible.
And what did he do? He went to space.
Yeah.
Well, not him personally, but you know, he's sending rockets.
On a rocket called Suck It.
Yes. If I was him, this is probably why I'm not him. If I was him, I would make a rocket and I'd put like all those guys' names on it, and then right on the tip, I put "suck it," and then send that thing right off into space. And then I would probably have some kind of drone detached from it and send thank you letters right to their door steps.
you really thought about this?
Man, I thought about this right now. There is no line to my resentful thinking. One time, yeah, I mean, when I started at 5, there was a guy who told me, he's like, no one's gonna, what are you doing? You've never started a business, you're a felon, you know, whatever. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it. And he's like, you'll never be successful. And I was like, wow, okay. And so it wasn't, I think after the first Giving Hearts Day, when we raised like a ton of money, it was a very big indicator to me that we had something.
Yeah.
I sent him a thank you letter.
Oh,
I said, thanks for being a douchebag. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be successful. Never heard back from him. Pretty sure he blocked me on Facebook and everything.
he's plotting your death.
He's probably resentfully thinking, you know, just, you really want to send someone to the moon or whatever, just talk shit about them. They're I've learned that about people who are just hateful souls, is that they are your biggest fans. Because they are so obsessed with your failure more than people are obsessed about your success. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when you look at it that way, you're just like, man, I'm here because of you. Right. Yeah. Like, so actually hate me more, because it turns me up. So some days it's like, man, I hate my life. Yeah. Yeah, but I think as you guys are talking about it, just like, but it just depends on who it comes from though. Because as she was saying, like, this is the person in charge of like the entire RDEP program, singling her out and saying, you have not done the work, you suck, or what did she say? You know, you be thank God you never had children, or something like that. It's like, this is somebody who is like an elevated position, like you're supposed to be helping me. Yeah. And if you're saying that about power. Yeah, because I mean, it'd be one thing if like another inmate, honestly, just get the hell out of here. But then like somebody who's supposed to be helping you say something like that, just how detrimental that could be. So I don't know. I think it's just one of the things that if we're ever in a position of authority, but just in a position of like where your opinion really holds. Yeah, know that your words have weight, you know? And I think anytime somebody comes at you and judges who you are as a person, they are immediately, you know, this is not about me. This is all about your garbage and whatever that you're trying to put on me. Because anybody that cared about me would come at me and say like, hey, I hear that you're going to start a business. Like, I just like, these were the concerns I had when I did it. I wish you all the best, but these are the roadblocks coming. You know what I mean? Whatever they were thinking was going to pull you back, they just come at it with love instead of like, you're crap and you can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the immaturity of it is asinine. Yeah, and I like the immaturity of that. Because like, it seems
so much work to be hateful. It seems so much easier to be helpful and so much more work to be hateful, but yet so many people still choose to spend more work, more time, more effort, more whatever to be hateful.
And why? How does this affect your day?
Right.
How does like Adam succeeding affect your day?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So why not just build each other up? We all know where we fall short.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be reminded. It's just like when my kids screw up, they already know that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to keep berating them. Remember when you did this? Remember when you did this? Just say, listen, you made a mistake. I've made mistakes. Let's just fix it as best we can and forget about it. Let's move on. You know, there's no why rub somebody's face in the things that they've done wrong in life, you know? It doesn't help. It doesn't help.
Yeah, it's not going to make them better. It's not going to, I've had some different teachers, she was talking about she was mentioning about, Christy was talking about some of her teachers and just different ones. I'm like, yeah, they're predators. I'm like, yeah, it was definitely, there were some different teachers of people like were just taking advantage of their position. But I tried to think about all the different, there was a couple of very specific teachers who really spoke positive and really spoke like brilliant things in my life, even though because as she was saying, I had my family was great, we were raised in church and we had on the outside, everything was as perfect as it could be.
Yeah.
But that didn't change. I was still in a very, very low position. I still didn't have the best opinion of myself. And so then to have a teacher who recognized that in me and said, hey, I see you, I appreciate this work, especially when I would get my parents would be like, oh, you got a B, you see, whatever, you could do better. And I know I could do better. Yeah. But I just had an off day or just whatever the situation was. But then I remember a couple of my teachers had said, hey, I really appreciate the effort that you were putting in here. It's just, if you can just direct that effort toward this, if you can just expound on this concept that you were trying to make this point, but you just didn't quite get there. So just spend a little more time here. Or one of my math teachers, and I was a terror in her class. I was the class clown, but I got into AP Calc. I did the work to get myself into this very high level math class, but I would just goof off and all these things. I was just trying to be cool or whatever. And so she pulled me aside and she was like, Ricky, why are you doing this? Yeah. And I just made another joke and she was like, no, it's not funny. I'm really curious. And I was like, well, I just kind of just went off and just my sister was just doing really well and was popular and just all these things. And so I was like, I didn't define my thing. Yeah. And she was like, well, just be smart. It's okay to be smart. Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay. And then I aced all my classes. I got
you're really good with numbers.
Yeah.
And see a future
with you in this. No, it was it was okay to be, I don't know. I just felt like I had to be my sister's younger than me, which is even harder. Yeah. And your younger sister, you're Lisa's older brother. I'm like, no, it's Lisa. I'm Lisa. It should be
Lisa.
Yeah. That's my sister. And I'm I hated that people would that's how I'd be known.
In her shadow.
Yeah, in her shadow. And I'm she's younger. But then and so the teacher was like, yeah, just be smart. And then at that point, everything just changed. Yeah. I got straight A's. I got all, when I did the test, I got 4s and all my AP classes. I was school president, all these things just started happening because I just needed permission from somebody. Yeah. To just be hey, it's okay to be.
Just actually see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teachers can make or break kids. I think they're not paid enough and they're amazing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of amazing teachers and there's a lot that maybe teaching wasn't your jam.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I'm doing this now because I spent all this time to get this license.
And just to be somebody's cheerleader. And I always think of that when I think of how am I raising my kids? Am I their cheerleader or am I the one that reminds them of all the crap they do wrong? You're not good enough at this. You're not good enough at this. You can get better grades. You should do this different. I don't want to be that voice in their head. I want to be the one that's I want to be the ridiculous mom that's you can do anything. You know what I mean? Just blindly optimistic going forward, and because everybody needs a cheerleader. Yeah. And that's a big deal. Yeah.
You're a cheerleader.
Yeah. I was just checking out my hairline.
That's what you were doing?
Yeah.
I feel like
I'm like a cheap guy. I'm like
We
sitting
were
there,
too, yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Just look at Kirsten on the scene.
Oh, I looked at your hair and I was like, God, yeah, we got a lot of hair. And so then I looked at mine, I was like, I don't. Damn.
Well, you're getting older. I'm
I'm
not.
42.
That's older than before. I don't know.
I'm older than I was yesterday.
You're smarter too.
Oh,
You
thanks.
have lived up to your
You're
potential.
so smart.
A lot of ways I know.
Because you're so old.
I mean, there's some people where I say you have potential, and then 20 years later they still just have potential. But you actually made it into something that I didn't think you would,
That's what this nobody did.
and that's why you did it,
Yeah.
because nobody thought you'd do it.
I mean, that was part of it. It was more like I don't want to have a life full of regret. That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I didn't feel. I mean, like it's just it was your calling, really.
Yeah. I think even like I was gonna, it's just so weird talking about myself like almost in a third person, like, Adam, you're doing great things.
You're a smart guy, Adam.
He's so smart.
Not Adam's guy.
But like, from like an outside, probably biased, objective perception of myself, I would say that like if I like stepped outside of myself and like through that whole journey, here's the wicked crazy thing. It is everything that I've gone through in the last 10 years was easy. It was super easy. It was way more simple than I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
It was the starting of the business, the building of the business. Like there's tough times.
Right.
There's a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, in comparison to what I thought it was going to be like,
Right.
it was a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And my fear, the reason that it took so long to do it is because I believed other people telling me that I was not capable.
Yeah.
And the greatest movie quote that I ever saw was with Miles Teller when he was the boxer. And they asked him, what's the greatest lie you've ever were told? And he said, it's not that simple. And she was kind of like confused by how he said, she thought he was saying it's not that simple. And he's like, no, that was the biggest lie that I was ever told it is.
Yeah.
It's in that line in the big book where it says it's simple, but not easy.
Yeah.
That is the epitome of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Is every single thing that I've done has been simple. It's just been hard to do. You know what I mean?
And you can do hard things.
You can do hard things.
Yeah. That's not because you've done those already. All the hard things,
Yeah. Even as we encounter, scaling and going into, there's just so it can be complex, right? Like on how to do it and where to do it. And, but at the end of the day, it's a simple concept. We want to go places and we want to help people.
Yeah.
At its simplest form, that's the goal. How we do it, probably not going to be easy. But what we want to do is simple. And so I think as long as we keep it simple and not get too far into our heads about how much work it's going to take.
Because you don't have to do it alone, and you don't have to know everything. Because
No, I got Darby. She's probably by far one of the hardest workers I've ever met in my life, and she I couldn't. There's no way that. No matter how simple it is, there's no way I could do it by myself. There's too much like work like to do, and I'm just not. It's not built. I'm not built.
She's not here.
Yeah, she's right over there. Yes.
She's a loud camera.
Are we recording that up there too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I have like multiple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's
To be able to choose and pick and choose.
very simple.
I think that's how like a lot of people are like, how do I know if it's God's will or my will or whatever? And I don't really like the whole God thing. It's still a hard even word to anyway. So whether it's the universe, higher power, whatever you call it, I think when life is a lot of work with some ups and downs. But really, doors just kind of keep opening. That's how you know, like, you're going in the right direction. But when you fight and worry and try and can micromanage everything and control the outcome and all that stuff, that is my will for sure, you know, because it makes me miserable. And then when I just let go of it, it works out. That's the most frustrating part. And I was like, all I had to do was let go of it from the beginning.
Do that.
But it's meant to be. And I think 99.9% of the population wants to help other people and they're kind. They just don't have someone like F5 or whatever coming along to say, here's how you can help.
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, yeah, I'd love to help, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird concept, like helping people now. I'm like, I probably, every time someone asks that to like, they want to volunteer, and I'll be like, all right, well, what do you want to do? Like, because I don't want you to volunteer in something that you don't want to do. Like what's your, and no one ever has an answer.
Crazy.
They don't know how to help people.
Yeah.
You know, and even with someone who relapsed, they're like, well, what do we do now? I don't know. What were you doing before?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't working. How do you know?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you know?
What do you
Like this might be the moment.
Yeah.
But what if it's not? Who gives a fuck?
I know.
It's not, just do it. Who cares? Just go help him. You know? Well, how do I help him? I'm like, why?
Go sit.
Go sit and have a cup of coffee with him. When's the last time that the guy had a cup of coffee with someone who isn't trying to fix him?
And it's not about you or the outcome. Just be there.
So what? He relapsed.
Yeah.
I cussed today, and I'm trying not to cuss. I'm trying not to say Jesus Christ in a mean manner. And like I just.
You say it in a different manner?
Yeah, like I did it today, and I was like, shit, a relapse. Like, I just, here I did it again. I'm trying to like not, do that. Like, and it's no one told me to do it. It was just like, I feel a little weird when I do it now. So it's just.
To be done.
That's just where I'm at. Like there's guys that say, oh, they'll just like sailors around me. It doesn't bother me. I don't care if they do it, but it's just something that I personally am trying to do. And so if I do it perfectly, then yeah, maybe I can sit there and, like he said, throw a few rocks, at people who are doing it. But I'm not going to do it for the minute I decided I wasn't going to do it, I did it an hour later.
I know, I do that all the time.
And then everyone's like, because I tell you, you're like, yeah, that's cool, And then I'm like, yeah, and I said it an hour later, like, oh, now imagine if I was like, I'm trying to be sober, but I relapsed yesterday. What's happened? They respond with like,
Right.
why?
I still do want to be sober.
Yes, I still want to be sober, but like if we could look at relapse as a part of the journey as someone trying not to use their Lord's name in vain.
Right.
Quit
You know
trying
what
to
I mean?
micromanage.
The guys that you really don't want around you are the ones that like give you that look for saying it. You're just like, I can understand because they relapse. You're like, you don't really understand that. But like, this guy just said a word and you're judging him.
Respect your day. Just like with kids, do you want to be the voice in their head that nags them about everything they mess up? Or just their cheerleader? You're like, yeah, you said the JC. It's okay. You'll be fine. But yeah.
I guess I don't really understand like where the response to relapse came from.
Fear,
like the stigma is just so like, if you ever want to know if you're like biased or you are like contributing to the stigma, watch how they respond to someone who relapses.
Yeah.
If their body language changes, if they are a little shameful or they're a little guilty, or if they say things like, why don't you just stay sober? Like they're contributing to it.
Yeah.
If they respond like, what are you doing today?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be sober. Good. How can I help?
Yeah. Let's forget it.
Or you don't even have to help. Just be like, that's cool. I cuss all the time, or I used to have a severe cocaine problem. Well, thanks, you priest.
Yeah.
Like that, running all the way back.
Yeah. You're gonna have to put it at the beginning. You gotta find where the callback is in this video. They'll have to watch 45 minutes.
That's true though. It's true that I think the world thinks very black and white, and really it's all just gray. And people need to be able to compartmentalize stuff. Like, do it all the time, do it none of the time, blah, blah, blah. It's where self-hatred comes from. Every day I'm like, I'm going to exercise. This is my new thing. I'm going to do it. I might do it for a day, maybe even a week. But I just have realized, lower the bar. My goal is to, if I think of it and I do it, win. If I think of it and don't do it, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth being like, I'm useless. I can't even stick to it. Exercise, you know what I mean? Whatever, it's so worth the
And
bar.
everyone has something. Because I've even seen guys who are really good about addiction or alcoholism or something like that, even if that person relapses. And these people that I'm specifically talking about are like huge body shamers. Like they'll be like, oh, you relapsed. Oh, yeah. And is there anything I can do to help? Blah, blah, blah. They're like, that guy needs to work out, man. He's fat. I was just like, wow, where did that come from? It's just people are so complicated that like right when you think you have like some momentum, you're just like, holy cow, you hate women.
Yeah.
Or like, or whatever. Like it just, I think there's a little bit of like, maybe it's not like racism, but it's bias or it's something towards something.
Yeah, you put your fear on other people.
Yeah, it's whatever you fear, or maybe it came from trauma, but there's always going to be some setback or some like stigma that you enhance that is perpetrated or whatever from you,
The idea that there's a magic bullet to help with any ailment, but especially recovery, like if you just finish the steps, man, then you'll be sober and happy the rest of your life. If you just get the right sponsor, if you just do the right workout, there isn't.
Yeah.
There isn't. Just get through today. Don't be a dick and enjoy your life. You know what I mean? It just really is.
Don't be a dick. I'm going to get that as a tattoo right here. Don't be a dick. And then all people will see is dick.
Yeah, start to be back there.
If he's trying to say, he's cusses and says dick a lot. I think
Jesus was
the Lord's name is the least of your worries.
Yeah, why are you focusing on that?
Yeah.
House is on fire. Mowing my lawn.
Yeah, somebody's putting the fire out on my left. Big fire. Hey, you can't help me anymore. You're not allowed.
Goes down.
Let's close this up.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, we of course want to thank our sponsors, the F5 Project, the Ridge Treatment and Reentry Center, GoAwayBear.com, Keep Tracks of Warehouse Insurance from Fargo. So grateful that they want to continue to
One shot Ricky.
this podcast. And if you are enjoying the podcast, please subscribe. Please tell your friends, share, follow us on Facebook. We have a lot of really great updates. We have some more amazing guests that are coming, and just all around. Shout out to Darby for just everything that she does. So thank you all so much. Have a great day in recovery.
And don't be a dick.
Crumble a cookie.